Nels here. Welcome to the latest episode of the Weekly Roundup podcast. This week we've got the biggest card of the year, in my opinion, UFC 268. And obviously for that one, we had to get Ryan Galloway back in. He used to be my co-host. Now he's just a guest, and hopefully we'll have him on more. But great to see you again, Ryan. How's it going?
Yeah, good to see you, Jordan. Doing good. Happy to be home for this one. We've got a big card, so it should be good.
Yeah, and we'll jump straight in. Obviously, we a brilliant main event we've got between Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington. A rematch that was it took a while to get going. Obviously, Usman. It doesn't seem like Usman wants this. So first thing first, what do you make of the actual rematch? You think Colby's done enough to earn his second shot at the title?
I think if you're going to look past Leon Edwards, you have to give it to Colby because everyone else's division at the moment hasn't done enough. Leon had that fight with Nate where it should have earned him a title shot, but because of the final round, probably the last 30 seconds, he didn't get the title shot off that. So if you're not going to give it to Leon, you have to give it to Colby. And to be honest, I'm pretty intrigued by the matchup again. I know the first time we broke it down, there was a lot of questions. And even now going into a rematch, there's still a ton of questions, even though we've seen it once. So yeah, I like the booking. I'm excited to see it.
And the fight itself, who are you leaning towards? How do you see it playing out?
It'd be hard to pick against Usman right now just because of the fact he's been active. This is the thing. I've seen so many people writing off Colby entirely and acting like Usman's this like expert striker now and he's just leveled up miles above Colby. And I just don't think that's true. I think if you put Colby in there against Masvidal, he probably beats him, not the same way, but I think he probably smashes him with pressure and puts him away. Gilbert Burns would be an interesting fight, but I tend to lean Colby as well. So I definitely think the gap is not as far as a lot of people are trying to say it is in this fight. And so there's definitely opportunities for Covington to capitalize. I would love to see this fight hit the ground and see who's the more competent wrestler, but I don't think we're going to see it. And if I had to make a pick right now, I'm picking towards Usman. What about you?
I'm actually leaning Covington. I was leading Usman until about a week ago. I watched the UFC Countdown show and everything that I seen there, I liked from Covington and I didn't like from Usman. I feel like Usman, and maybe they're painting him the wrong way. It seems like he's enjoying his success. He's reveling in it. He seems really confident as a champion. As you said then, he knocked out Masvidal, but for me, his striking still didn't look fantastic. It was a great punch, not taking that away from him at all. But I feel like Masvidal was entertaining the exchanges because he knew I might catch him and ended up getting caught himself. So I'm also a bit worried that Usman might think he's a boxer now, a few knockouts, and he thinks he can go in and do that type of stuff. And I don't think he's good enough for that. I also like that Covington has realized, although he's had all these excuses about the ref and the eye poke and the groin strike and all these things, he has realized what he did wrong in the fight. He kind of just waded forward without any defense, all about putting pressure on people. And he spoke about the changes he's going to make. So everything I heard from Covington, I really liked. And as you said, I think Usman is a massive favorite. For me, it's a 50-50 fight. And, seeing Covington at them odds, I think he's about 3-1. It's pretty big. I just fancy him. I think, as I said, 50-50 fights. And I like everything that's coming from the Covington camp. I think he's making the right changes. He understands what he did wrong, but at the same time, he's hyping up the fight and saying all the stuff he usually says. So, yeah, very exciting one. And yeah, I think we could get him new welterweight champion on the weekend. Massive fight.
Yeah, like you said, if he's an underdog, 3-1 underdog, this is the safest underdog on the card, in my opinion. So if you're going to take someone who's an underdog, Colby's your guy. And look, he's been inactive, but he's been in the gym working. Perhaps he's leveled up the same way Usman has. I doubt he's going to have the same punching power that Usman does have. But who knows? In this one, I really do want to see the grappling exchanges because you didn't see that in the first fight. And if you're Colby and lost that first fight, no matter all the fake nut shots, eye pokes, whatever, he lost that fight. Coming into the rematch, you got to do something different. And perhaps the wrestling's the way to go about that. And if he can take Usman down, that'll change the entire fight. The second one of them gets put on their back, we'll know who's going to win that fight because they're just going to go to the wrestling nonstop if they can dominate their opponent, and hopefully we see it.
Yeah, and I think both guys will have that mindset. Obviously, I'd say both their biggest strengths is the wrestling and all that stuff. So to throw out the window in the first fight, I think it showed that they were pretty new to the top of the game. I think now they are both seasoned professionals, and you'll see them mixing it up a bit more and trying to. This is the best fight you can make at welterweight. I love Leon Edwards, obviously fellow Englishman. I want him to get that shot, but Colby and Usman, in my opinion, are the two best welterweights, and whoever wins will deserve to be the best welterweight, and then he can fight Leon Edwards. But either way, exciting. I'm leaning Covington. You're leaning Usman. We'll move on to the strawweight title fight. Hopefully, we can get a unanimous decision on that one. Rose Namajunas against Zhang Weili. First and foremost, again, what do you make of this rematch? I'm not really a fan of it. I don't think it's necessary. Do you think it is?
Do I think it's necessary for the division? Probably not. But do I want to see it? Yes, I do. Because the first fight I thought ended too quickly. I was taking Zhang going into that one. And going to this one, obviously I'm leaning a bit more towards Rose just because of how that first one went. But you don't know how a 5-round fight between these two fighters go. Or even if it's past 1 round, how does it look? Rose is pretty calculated. She's got really good movement. She's got great coaching, great striking. I don't know who's the more competent wrestler because neither of them wrestle. We're not going to see that in this one. But I want to see that. I want to see this fight go more than 1 round. If it ends in another first-round knockout, I'm going to be furious. I want to see them go a couple of rounds, see who's the better fighter,
I just think that Zhang is overhyped in the sense that why is she getting this title fight after getting knocked out in the first round? In my opinion, she lost to Joanna as well. So it's not like she's some type of dominant champion who's, looked fantastic. It just seems to me that, she is the UFC's key to China. She is a very good fighter, obviously. And Carla Esparza, who is the next in line, isn't really going to be selling pay-per-views, is she? But I think that was the fight to make. And I'm a bit disappointed that we don't get that rematch because, Rose did struggle with Carla Esparza in that fight. She really did. So I know a lot of time has passed, but in that first fight, she struggled, and it'd be great to see her try and get that one back. But as you said, the fight itself, it's an exciting fight. I do expect something similar to happen again. I feel like Zhang is there for the taking in the terms that she does barrage forward. She comes forward. She leaves herself exposed, and Namajunas is just a bit too tricky for her. I think she'll land something in the first 2, potentially 3 rounds and close the show again. Who you edging for?
I'm edging for Rose, but I think that Zhang's going to be a lot better in this fight. The biggest point for that is the fact she moved to the US for a camp and she's training with coaches who deal with a different style of fighting than I imagine back home in China. Those coaches will be used to seeing different kinds of athletes than the ones in the UFC, aside from when they coach Zhang. So I imagine having new coaches. She's got Cejudo's coach, Eric Albarracin. I imagine he'll be in her corner. I imagine Cejudo might be in her corner. These guys can't help her in the ring, obviously, but just their guidance, she's probably going to come in a more complete fighter. Whether that's enough to beat Rose, though, I really doubt.
Yeah, there's the stuff she can do. Obviously, bringing someone like Cejudo into the camp, it can help because he had that type of loss against DJ, where he got wiped out and he came back and he looked, one of the best bantamweights, flyweights of all time. So, be interesting to see what changes she makes. But I think her style is that she is powerful. She's big. She comes forward, and her way to victory is putting it on Rose. I think that is the way to victory, but at the same time, it leaves it open. So it's just all about what meshes on the night. So although I'm not a fan of her getting an immediate rematch, I like the fight. I think it's going to be a fun fight for as long as it lasts.
More enjoyable than if Carla Esparza got the shot, in my opinion.
Oh,
as much as I think Esparza deserved it, I don't think it would have been as good a fight.
No, absolutely. I think we could have seen Rose get out wrestled for 5 rounds, and that's the point. A worthy challenger, and Zhang, it's not that she's not, but based off the last performance, I don't know why we're seeing this again. But 2 rematches, and I'm sure they'll be fun. And before that, I think it's actually opening the main card now, but we'll speak about it as the third fight because it is, the people's main event. Justin Gage against Michael Chandler, 2 of the most violent men in MMA. What do you make of it?
Well, I mean, it was good for Trevor Whitman to have a bit of a break between the 3 fighters, so it's not back to back to back. Look, this fight is going to be fight of the night. I'm calling it. It's either going to be performance of the night or fight of the night. There's no way that neither of these men leave with a bonus. It's one of them's going to leave a bonus or both of them leave a bonus. I'm edging towards both of them. Look, I think that we could get 1 or 2 fights here, and I hope it's the first one, which is what they've been talking about. Let's go in the center and bang. Let's throw hands to see who's the better fighter. But the other fight we could get here is Chandler trying relentlessly to take Gaethje down, and if he can get him down, I think he dominates him. I've seen Gaethje on his back in his last fight. Once he's put on his back, he struggles to get up, and he's open for submissions. His submission defense isn't at the level of a lot of the other fighters in the division. But the thing is, he's so difficult to take down. So can Chandler get him down? Who knows? But if he can, I expect the fight to go that way and Chandler gets hand raised. But I really want to see a war here.
Yeah, I think the smartest route to victory for Chandler is to do that. Like, I think it's a 50-50 fight on the feet, but in my opinion, it's not even that. It's a 60-40 fight in Gaethje's favor. He's got the power. I think he's got the more variety of strikes. I feel like he's got the better chin, and I feel like on the feet, you'd have to fancy him to win, but I think Chandler is going to be shooting for the takedown. I think despite everything, that's what he should be doing. I think he can beat Gaethje on the floor, and as you said, against Khabib, once he hit the mat, he didn't have anything, Gaethje, and it was very surprising, and I feel like if anyone in Chandler's camp has got half a brain, they'll be looking at that and saying, all we need to do is get this guy to the floor. He can't defend himself there. And although as talented as Khabib is, we've seen people like Conor McGregor, who has been slated for his lack of jiu-jitsu skills, was able to hang with him for 4 rounds at least, and then eventually got tapped. Gaethje, he just rolled through him. So, and Dustin Poirier was the same. He was able to, at least put up some type of fight, whereas Gaethje didn't. So I feel like Chandler's route to victory is definitely on the floor, and I'd be very surprised if he didn't take it. But is it just noise what he's doing right now? Is it all just talk, or is he actually going to go in there and try and bang with Gaethje? Because I think it'd be a bad idea, but it'd be fun. It'd be fun while it lasted.
Yeah, and look, it's not going to be an easy task to take Gaethje down. It wouldn't surprise me if Gaethje can stuff all his takedowns in this fight because he's that good a wrestler. It's just once he's on his back, like a lot of wrestlers, like I didn't even speak about it in the main event, but I think both of these guys coming down Usman, you put them on their back, they're going to struggle, right? Because they're never used to be putting on their back. They're wrestlers. They're trying to defend takedowns and take other people down. So once they're on the back, it's a different world. And for Chandler, who has plenty of submissions on his record, has a lot of experience on the ground, whether it's been on top or on his back, I think that's just an area that Gage has never really had to be in his career. The times he's been there, he's been losing the fight. And in the Khabib situation, he lost the fight. But I really hope we get a war. And if it does stay on the feet, I agree with you. I think Gage is the bigger puncher. I think Gage has got a better chin. And I think Gage will find that shot. But yeah, let's see which fight we get.
Yeah, and also the fact that I think in this instance, Gaethje might actually be easier to take down than he was against Khabib, because everyone knows Khabib's tactics. It's, he's coming for them legs, and that's what's going to happen. So he was able to dodge you for a little while. But if Chandler kind of initiates a bit of a striking thing, gets Gaethje comfortable, thinking that's what's going to happen, dips under, takes the legs, I think that's what could happen. But at the same time, I've just got a sense that I think Chandler is not going to be smart in this fight, and I think he might try and mix it up with Gaethje, and it won't go his way. So ultimately, that's his pick, but that's my pick. Sorry, I think Justin Gaethje's going to win this one, but I think there is a real chance Chandler can get it done as well. That's why it's such a fun fight, and I think whoever wins this, despite what Islam Makhachev says, despite what Daniel Cormier says, is next in line for the title. I absolutely do believe that.
Oh, big call. I think that if Chandler wins this, Islam Makhachev's next in line for the title. I don't think there's any way that Chandler's getting another title shot off this win.
Well, it's tough, isn't it? Because he did put 10-8 Charles Oliveira in that first round, and then he just got caught. So if he looks fantastic against Justin Gaethje, for me, that win over Dan Hooker is not worth much at all. Like, obviously, Dan has been, picking up L's lately. He's also took that fight on late notice. He seems more interested in taking some money at the minute than, getting up them ranks. So it was a very impressive win, but I still feel like there's work to be done for Islam. But at the same time, he's got the name value. He's got the Khabib aura. He's got all this stuff going for him. So it'll be interesting. And I think depending on, I think Justin Gaethje, if he wins, he's got it in the bag. If Michael Chandler looks sensational doing so, then he could get it too. But I do understand where you're coming from. And I imagine if he did get the shot, there would be a little bit of negativity about it.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, and before that, we've got Shane Burgos, Billy Quarantillo. Lovely guy, Billy. Got to chat to him ahead of this one. He's super excited for it. It's a couple steps up against someone like Shane, who has been banging it with the best of them. Hasn't been going his way lately. So a little step down for him. What do you make of it?
I think this is a fight that Burgos should win. If Burgos doesn't win this fight, I think that got some serious like rethinking to do, right? Because he was at the top of the division, really. He was in the top 10 from memory. He had that war against Josh Emmett. I think he lost that, right? Yeah. And then he lost against Barbosa again. So he's on a bit of a skid, but I think if he's going up against these guys, both those fights were competitive until they ended. So it's like, if he's going up against these guys, he should be able to take out Billy Grantillo. But yeah, this is really just a test to see where Burgess is at right now. I don't expect Quarantillo to win this one and then work his way into the top 5 or something. What do you think?
It's tough. Obviously, it's a big step up for Billy, and I think there's a lot of question marks on Shane at the moment. Obviously, that knockout that knockout loss he suffered was brutal. So very interested to see how he comes back from that. Luckily, Billy isn't necessarily a huge puncher. He kind of accumulates the damage. He puts paces on people, and Shane Burgos doesn't seem like the type of person who caves to that type of pressure. So I think we could get fight tonight. I think both of these guys are going to go in and slug it out, and I don't really have a pick. I think it's going to be tight. I think Billy is going to surprise a lot of people and step up and show his level, but it all depends where Shane is. If he's on in top form, he should be able to go in and pull this off. But as I said earlier, I think there is question marks over him. He hasn't been the greatest of form. He is very hittable. Does he change his style? How does it change? Yeah. But he's only lost to the best. Calvin Victor, Josh Armit, Edson Barboza. They're really respectable losses. Each one of them was fight of the night. So he's been hanging with them, and I think the smart pick would be him, because he's never lost to someone at Billy Quarantillo's level. But at the same time, I've got a sneaky feeling for Billy as well. So very excited for that one. I think we're going to see at least one or maybe both of these fighters walking away with a bonus when it's all said and done.
And that fight can't suck. That's one of the fights on the card, like Gage and Chandler, which can't be bad.
Touch wood. Anyway, before that, we've got Franky against Marlon Vera. Obviously, Franky is coming off that. Is it Sandhagen, his last loss? Yeah, another brutal loss. 28 seconds in, flying knee. He was like a statue on the floor. And Marlon Vera is coming off a good win and a rematch, avenging his loss to Davey Grant. He continues to grind. He looked good against Jose Aldo without getting a win. He's got the win over Sean O'Malley. Is this the one where Marlon Vera really steps up and gets the signature win on his record?
I hope so, because I'm a big Vera fan. But look, I'll say one thing. I think Vera is as skilled. He's on par with guys like Edgar or Aldo. There's no reason that he can't beat them. The reason he's losing is his pacing and how he fights. I think he's a bit of a slow starter, and that causes problems for him. Like in the Aldo fight, you look at the Aldo fight. He lost that first round. The second round, he was winning. He was coming back. It was just the fight IQ of Aldo to switch to that grappling in the third that won him that fight. That was a very competitive fight. And you see what Aldo's been able to do to other guys like Pedro Munoz. And so I don't see any reason that Vera can't win this fight. To me, it depends on how quick he can start. Because if he drops that first round, it's going to be an uphill battle to get the next two,
Yeah, and I think that's a nightmare against Franky, because I feel like he's also something of a slow start. You can get him early, and I think the last two losses, Sandhagen and Korean Zombie, they've got him early and took him out of there. So does Vera see that, or does he allow Franky to work himself into the fight? Because if he does that, you get a fight like Pedro Munoz where he really did shine. He looked good, and it was a close fight. It could have went either way. I think I had Pedro in that, but he still really did look good, Franky. So but at 40 years old, what can he do? And I think Marlon Vera's really got to be looking at this and licking his lips, because this is a name. It's a brilliant, fight to get on your record, but he's also not at the peak of his powers anymore. So I really think Vera should be going in there from the first bell, swinging and trying to take this guy out. I don't think Egg can knock him out. I think Vera has got that chance, and I think it's up to him to go in and really stamp his authority on this division. He gets linked to Sean O'Malley, who still seems to be ahead of him in a lot of people's opinions, despite that win. So I'd really like to see him go out there and cement himself as a true bantamweight contender, because despite the fact he's only 28, he's been knocking on the door for a while now. So I'd really like him to see him go and get that big win.
Yeah, no, that'd be good. I do want to see him get in title contention.
And in the featured prelim, we've got a UFC debut for Alex Pereira. The last and only man to knock out Israel Adesanya. He's a kickboxing sensation, and he goes up against Andreas Michailidis in the featured prelim. As I said, what do you make of this one?
It's a showcase fight, obviously, for Pereira. It's a decent challenge, I guess, for your debut. It's definitely in the shallow end of the pool. It's not like they're throwing in the deep end here. Definitely a winnable fight, especially given that he trains with Glover, who's a bigger guy. So I don't think the grappling threat is going to be as big an issue as some people are making out here. So I expect Perez just to go out there and just put him to sleep in the first, and that'd be it.
That's interesting. Obviously, 1-1 he is Andreas in the UFC. He had that weird loss to Modestas Bukauskas on short notice, but then he's dropped back down to middleweight. He got a unanimous decision win. But at the same time, I am with you. I do think he is pretty hittable. And I think obviously that's the last thing you want to be against someone like Alex Pereira. So it's more interesting if he gets that KO and he looks spectacular, he gets on the mic, he calls out Israel Adesanya. How quickly do you think they'll try and move him up them middleweight division towards that title shot?
If he gets the first round knockout in this fight, he's getting a top 10 guy next. I think it's a top 10 guy. Strickland.
Yeah. Strickland, Darren Till would be a cool fight. I think you might as well move him quick because how old is he? I think he's in his 34 years. He's got wins over. I don't think there's a need to take him through slowly. It's obvious what they want to do. But at the same time, do you let him get to a title shot without going through the necessary steps? Or are they just going to feed him strikers or throw a wrestler in there and see how he deals with that type of stuff? It's going to be interesting to see what they do with him. But I think I am definitely with you. I think he's going to get a knockout and look spectacular.
Yeah, let's hope so.
And before that, we've got Al Iaquinta. He's been out for quite a while now. I think it might be about 2 years since his last one. Yeah, Dan Hooker
in Australia against Dan Hooker. Yeah.
Dan Hooker 2 years ago, October 6, 2019. So he's on a 2-fight losing streak right now, and he's facing off against Bobby Green, who I think's pretty brilliant lately. He got the one loss to some. I know he lost to Fiziev, but he was gaming that. Thiago Moses, he lost that, and then before that was 3 fights on the bounce. What do you think of this? Do you think Al can bounce back with a win?
I think Al can bounce back here. Look, I think both these guys are grinders. Their style is grinding. I don't think either guys are going to put the other away, but I just think Iaquinta's a little bit better, just a step better. I don't think Iaquinta's a top contender now. I don't think he's going to be in the top 10 anytime anymore. He had his time, in my opinion. Neither do I think Bobby Green will be in the top 10 anytime soon. So it's good matchmaking, in my opinion, but I think Iaquinta's just a step ahead.
I think Iaquinta on his day is, a top 10 fighter. He's really good, but then he has the off night as well. He got beat by Donald Cerrone, which is, in this day and age, it's not the best, because I think besides that, he's on about 7-fight losing streak or something crazy like that. So, but very interested to see Al back in there. I do think on his day, as I said, he is better than Bobby Green. He will, he should win the fight, but at the same time, I think Bobby is just a bit more. He's been more active. He has looked good lately, despite being the fact he's on 2-fight losing streak. He's looked good again. So I think he might just have a bit much to him, and just over the 3 rounds, he'll eke out the decision. But either way, I think it's going to be close.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, but I do think Iaquinta will win this one. So.
And we've also got Edmund Shabazian. He's on a 2-fight losing streak. He stepped up and he's been out grappled for large parts against Derek Brunson and Jack Hermanson. And he is facing Nazaruddin. Oh, I'm so terrible with the name. Nazaruddin Imavov. We actually interviewed him as well, so I should get that right. Imavov is, he's a surging contender. He obviously had that really nip and tuck fight with Phil Hawes, but then he come back and dominated Ian Heinisch. So he seems like a contender. Is Edmund Shabazian going to get back in a win column, or is it going to be 3 in a row? Yeah.
Look, I can't see why Edmund Shabazian can't get back in the win column here. I think he's as good a fighter as Imavov. I tend to think this is good matchmaking, right? I think it's fairly even matchmaking. Both guys could win this fight. I want to say Shabazian, but maybe I'm just buying into the hype that they pushed him with. So I'm thinking better than he is, because he's had those back-to-back losses. The Brunson one didn't look good. The Manson one didn't look good. So it's I'm going to take Shabazian on this one, but I'm not confident in that pick.
No, I think whatever happens, he's going to have to grind this one out here. Again, it's not going to be easy. I don't think Imavov's going to fall down off a few strikes and he's going to, everyone's going to be talking about Shabazian again. I think if he gets the win, he's going to have to survive some flurries and all these things. And it's a 24-year-old against a 25-year-old. So, he's not fighting a veteran here, so he should be able to maneuver his way through the fight without, get falling into them type of traps that Jack Hermansson and Derek Brunson set. So, yeah, very interesting. I hope he gets back in the win column, because for me, at one point, he was one of, or if not the most exciting prospect in UFC, and it's all gone a bit downhill. But Jack Hermansson and Derek Brunson back to back, they are really tough fights. So, yeah, more interested than anything just to see this one and watch it play out. I don't have a strong pick, although I do slightly edge Imavov. I think I do. But yeah, as I said, not strongly. And we'll move on, because before that, Ian Garry, former welterweight Cage Warriors champion, makes his UFC debut. One of the most highly fancied prospects out of Europe. He faces Jordan Williams. First off, what do you make of Ian Garry? Have you seen much of him?
So I had not really, I'd heard his name for like months now, but I've never seen him fight. I've seen some highlights this week, but you know what? His work on the mic is better than his fighting, I'm sure, because he has sold himself so well this week. I'm really interested to see him fight, even though I don't know what his style is. I know nothing about him, but yeah, one of the more interesting fights on the card just because of how well he has marketed himself,
Yeah, he's great on the mic. Obviously, he's from Ireland, and he's made no secret of that. He wants to follow in the footsteps of Conor McGregor, and he's doing it, with his fighting skills and with his mic talk. He's very good on the mic. He's very good with socials. He's very good with all that stuff. And for me, this is something of a gimme fight. I do think, Jordan Williams is a bit out of his depth in the UFC. Ian Garry, in terms of the UK prospects coming through, and he's from Ireland actually, so the British Isles or whatever you want to call it, I'll get slaughtered for that one. So yeah, through the European prospect coming through, Ian Garry is, talent-wise, one of the best. He's looked fantastic throughout his career. Big win over Jack Grant last time out, and he really did dominate that fight. I think before that, he beat a UFC veteran with a head kick KO. So I just think he's, even at this stage of his career, I think he's a couple levels above Jordan Williams, and he's gonna basically kick shit out of him for as long as this fight lasts. But I think Jordan Williams is tough, and he might be able to survive the 3 rounds.
Yeah, it's a great card for prospects, right? Like the headlining on the early prelims, Zhang Gary, the headlining on prelim cards, Alex Pereira. Should be fun to see how they go,
Yeah, and the early prelims, is there anything you want to pick out from there?
Nah, I won't be awake at that time, so no point me talking about those ones. I'll be up for the earliest prelim, Ian Gary, and then I'll watch from there,
No, it's is this an early one again, or slightly earlier?
6 a.m. for me.
6 a.m. We in the UK, we've had some nice shows lately, so I'm sure I'll have to stay up for late for this one, but you don't mind, so we'll take what we're given at the minute. And yeah, that pretty sums up the card. It's a brilliant card for me. The best card of the year. UFC 269 might top it by the time it's actually finished and has its full lineup, but for me right now, up till now, this is a brilliant card, and I just can't wait. So thanks for joining me, Ryan. Obviously, great to have you back. We do miss you on the show, and hopefully we can get you back for another one of the big cards soon.
Yeah, whenever.
Thanks, mate. Speak soon, guys.
Cheers. Make sure to subscribe to the LowKick MMA YouTube channel for all the latest news, event previews, and interviews with some of the biggest stars in MMA.